Sweet. We're up. We're up.
Are we on live on all platforms now, Tua, or
Yes. Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, and Patreon. Oh, let me go back. I have to hit one more button on Instagram. There we go. We are officially on Instagram now as well.
nice, nice.
Actually, there was another interesting.
I just recently watched a podcast with that Hamole Olokau Atu, that Tongan, that
Oh
big
yeah, the
Tongan
guy who
kid.
plays with the Eagles. The
Yeah,
I heard it. Man, he's a big boy, isn't he? He's like six
big
foot
boy,
five.
big boy. Yeah, and he had a crazy story that he wasn't even considered. He almost was looking to give up on rugby league, and it wasn't until when a friend took him to go to some training sessions to watch him play, and the coach recognized him, told him to come and train with him, and then that's how he got on. But it's crazy, he reminds me kind of like Jordan Mailata. He was kind of giving up on, and then Mailata turned to NFL.
See, that's the thing that even with I mean, and now everybody who looks at him, they just think that it was obvious, right? They just think like, oh, of course he would be a standout. Of course he would be off the chart, you know. But it really, you can do everything right, but you still need a little luck, right? It's
Yes.
like doing business. It's like even going for your education. You could have a great experience in your education, or you could have a bad one just because no one really invested in you, identified you, and helped build you up. A lot of these things, man, there's a lot of luck. It just happens that those who work hard get more luck, right?
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
still a little bit of luck.
Yeah. No,
That's
100% agree.
yeah. So what? Who was he talking with on that?
He
On
was
that
talking.
message?
He was talking with another Australian guy. Let's see if I can pull it up here. That I've kind of watched here and there. Jordan Mailata's also gone on his broadcast
Okay.
thing. Yeah, let me. Try
Hey,
to see.
Clyde Moore, great song. 5 o'clock somewhere. 100%. Welcome,
Clyde
welcome to
Moore.
the show, Clyde Moore. Hey, Clyde Moore messaged us. Tako tau family pe mo, Clyde Moore.
Nice, nice.
Yes.
Hello.
So, Malo, Clyde Moore.
The Let's Trot Show, Tua. Trot.
Let's strut.
Let's Trot.
Oh,
Trot
like
show
trot,
must be
like
in the track.
run.
Yeah, Let's Trot Show.
Okay, okay.
An
But
Australian flavor on that.
yes, welcome everyone to another digital live Kava session on the Polynesianized podcast. We'll start shortly here. We are running live on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, and on Patreon. We're going to start here real short, but go ahead, get comfortable. If you got to start mixing your kava right now and follow it, let's get it going. Let's get it going.
Let's go.
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
go.
way. AJ, beautiful. Masi, what's your thoughts on AJ?
AJ, Tony Turbo.
Malo Poso, we love
Malo,
you.
malo.
We love you, Poso. Two claps for you, Poso. You get the first cup. Yeah, 1, 2. You get the first cup, Poso. Oh Yahweh. Clyde Moore is finally seeing all the fun activity on TikTok, Masi.
Okay.
Guy Clyde Moore, when we go on offense on Facebook, YouTube, on TikTok is where we work on our defense, our body movement, the shoulder roll, just working
Yeah.
a little bit of the Philly shell.
Yeah. Especially when we do with the ones who only see snippets. They never watch
Yeah.
the whole show and they have so many questions. But
Ay,
yeah,
Yahweh. And
it is what it is.
that's a good point, Clyde Moore. Maybe we'll have a couple just play a couple of our TikTok shorts there so people can get a flavor of some of the reactions we get sometimes. But
Mm.
Mr. Aotearoa seems to be a favorite. Seems like whenever I do a clip of Aotearoa, Mr. Aotearoa, I get the most amount of knee-jerk reactions.
Triggered.
Triggered. No safe spaces here. No safe spaces here. You come to the digital Kava session, you not only throw punches, but you got to be able to take a punch too.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure.
There's something we got to do to show the spirit in which these discussions are held. People are so 100%, and that's the thing is, I don't know how to say it besides sometimes the truth can hurt a little bit. I mean, I'm sure we have to be corrected every once in a while, but until then, we'll see what happens.
Mm.
Oh yeah, wait, hey Jay, we can revisit this. We've had
Yeah.
that discussion. I mean, we understand that's a position a lot of the academia take,
Mm.
but according to our ancestors, Pulotu is not on this physical earth. So unless Fiji is
Spiritual.
in the spirit world, hard for
Mm.
us to take that position. But hey, maybe one day you can join us, AJ, and we can
Yeah,
walk through your thoughts.
and explain your perspective. Yeah.
Hey, Water Bears! If you guys were wondering, my mom is from Vaini, which explains. Oh yeah, Maria. We're not gonna go with the other nicknames. We're just gonna go with the Vaini Doves. I always loved that name, right? Because I played
Oh,
rugby
really?
league. Yeah, that's the rugby
Okay.
league. That's the rugby
Okay.
league team for Vaini, the
Yeah.
Vaini Doves. I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
Hufangalupe.
Vaini. Yeah, and I know Vaini, as of recent, they really showed out for their Ho'eki with the whole
Oh
Tamapakawa
yeah,
they had. So, hey, a lot of props to the Vaini and Tomololo people doing their Fatongia with the, 600 pigs, because I know those are
thousands
not
of
easy task.
baskets and stuff.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like making the rounds on like social media, right?
yeah,
Like, if there's one thing that I think our people know, man, they know how to show up for a cultural, duty.
yeah, that's for sure.
Clyde Moore recognizing now Water Bears. Hey, let's see. We don't want AJ to think we're ignoring Fiji's left Fiji settled Tonga. Oh, maybe. Oh, we already did that.
Mm.
Upuese, how's it, brother?
Hello.
Welcome,
Hello.
welcome. Sweet. We'll go ahead, get through our intro here, guys, and we will get started. Officially welcome everyone to the live digital Kava session on the Polynesian Ice podcast. Masi, Friday there in Aotearoa. How's your weekend looking? Are you excited?
Yes, yes, really excited. For Friday here in this part of the world, New Zealand, it's about 2:44. Just got wrapped things up for work about 2:30, and then you're available. I'm available. Shoot a Polynesian Eyes podcast, and here we are. But how you doing, Tua? How's your day
Doing
going?
good. It's been a long day, a lot of meetings. Um, Friday is going to be another busy day for me for meetings as well. It's one of the reasons why I requested we do it a little bit earlier than usual. It's been a long day, and I have another long day tomorrow. Because this podcast is for the love of the game, not because
Yes,
it pays
sir.
the bills. It's before the love of the game.
Yeah.
So try to fit it in a more reasonable time, and also so like Water Bears, try to maintain my visa so I can keep attending our Kava sessions here.
Yes, sir.
So there's actually a first thing. Nacho sent us a message on Instagram, man, and I really enjoy our viewers and the followers of the show.
Mm.
And he sent something really interesting. And I'm gonna share this, and we'll start off with this. You know, let me see. Oh, we got to go to the share here. Nacho found something pretty cool, and we're gonna take a look at it, Masi. And if you could be so kind enough, Masi, maybe I don't know if you can see it. Can you? Are you able
Yep,
to?
yep,
Can you see
yep.
that?
I can see it. Yep.
Just read
Beautiful
that
Samoa.
highlighted part. Yeah.
Okay, so ancient myths and legends say the first people descended from heavens and gods to inhabit these islands. However, it is believed they came from Tonga. Samoa's oldest known site of human occupation is a Lapita village. Lapita is a prehistoric Pacific Ocean culture named for their style of pottery. Now partially submerged in a lagoon at Murifanua on Upolu, carbon dating from this site revealed it to be around 3,000 years old.
Hmm. Interesting. And this is I think this is like an official, is this some kind of travel
That's the
site?
ministry. That beautiful Samoa, from my understanding, is supported by the Ministry of Tourism.
Hmm.
So from Samoa. So yeah, big sponsor of the Manu Samoa and a lot of the Samoan sports teams around the world.
Yeah. So that's the most intriguing part right there. It
Straight
is
from the
believed
horse's mouth. You
exactly.
know.
And this is going to be a theme that we're going to talk about towards the end, Masi. And I really appreciate Nacho, Nacho for sending this over, because everybody thinks when we're online and we're talking that there's no oral history within Samoa, that we come from Tonga,
Yeah.
right? That we're all from Tonga. So um I thought that was interesting, and we'll get into a video later on, but I mean, even the government website says it's believed that they come from Samoa. So there's a lot more nuance than just
Yeah.
believe me because I said you that Tuimanua is the source of all things. That's
Yeah.
not as rock solid as some people seem to present online,
Mm,
right? So that's why we wanted to bring this up. We'll get into it a little bit deeper into the discussion. Nelly Malo,
what's up, Nelly?
thank you for stopping by. AJ, I get it, man. You are thoroughly convinced. Would love to have a conversation with you on that. But we're gonna
Mm.
do a few couple reactions. I would like to catch up with some Olympics, right?
Oh,
That's just a couple things from the Olympics, some performances that were just
last time I
phenomenal.
yeah, last time I checked, USA is like pretty much every Olympic the total medals. America is killing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's starting to get into the track and field, right? It's gonna explode. Let me let me get the first video out. And this, I don't know if you've seen this, Mussy, phenomenal comeback in the 400-meter final. So this is a great. There's two parts to this. I mean, this is pretty impressive. So let's watch this.
It's the final of the men's 400 meters. Let's go. And you already see Jareen Richards on the outside going out extremely quickly. So has Samukanga third from the left. Keep your eye also on Karani James, who's just about dead center of your picture right now.
It's Karani James and Matthew Hudson Smith who are running the backstretch and now the turn. But look at
this
Jareen
close.
Richards, who has the experience of the 200. But watch out.
Oh,
He's fading badly at this point, Lee.
Jareen Richards on the outside, Matthew Hudson Smith, Karani James, Quincy Hall is digging deep. Quincy Hall is running past all of them. Can he get there?
Dude.
He does
you see him crunching his teeth together.
with the most epic comeback.
Dude.
My goodness.
That's a cool race. That one and also that 100-meter one, that was pretty tika too.
Dude, isn't that freaking crazy what that guy just did? And then there's another view of it that is like right here. Here's another view of
That was spectacular.
Look at
We
him.
will remember
Look at
this
him.
moment for a very long time. What a spectacular the men's 400-meter final.
Matthew Hudson Smith set the pace early, but he could not hold it late, and Hall made him pay. So the United States back on top of the podium at the Olympics in the 400.
Look at that.
And let's give a shout out to Mazala Samakonga, who wins Zambia's first ever Olympic medal in the 400. But they're not.
I mean, that's all heart, man. Because like the commentator was saying, is like, holy smoke. They were like, oh, they're fading, and then all of a sudden,
that last gear, they always say dig deep when you're going through those 2-a-days. We always call it 2-a-days when we do those football practice. You practice twice a day. You just dig deep to finish that last 45 minutes of practice or last 30 minutes. Dang.
No, and that's I agree here with Nelly here. It's there's fitness, there's preparation, and then there's just winners. You know what I mean? You're gonna make it, regardless of what happens. Water Bears, USA. That was impressive, man. That was a really cool showing there. There was another one, dude. This one is even more crazy in my opinion. And let me see here.
Is it another racing one, Tua?
No, this is a Chinese. It's a dive, and talk about perfect dive, right? Like, watch
is this. The men? Is this the
men? Women, and this is the dive that she wins the gold medal with. Watch. Dude, it's like no splash.
That is pretty crazy.
Look at this. Look at this. There's like no splash.
That person's probably taking some performance enhancements or something. I'm just saying that. Is this the Chinese one?
Yes.
Because I don't know if you heard. There's been talks that they were tested positive with some performance enhancement stuff, and it did go around the athletes, and apparently the Olympic Committee still allowed them because they gave them the expectation there were stings on their food or whatever, and then people are like, "What the heck?" So
what kind of food are you guys eating?
Yeah, that's still amazing. And the other thing, Tua, this is just my opinion. I've kind of stopped watching female Olympic competition because one, you never know who's the transgender one. And I don't want to waste my time if they are not on the same
level,
same field. So I only stick to the men because I was like, okay, at least the men, no one is cheating. It's all biological men.
Yeah, no natural biological advantage.
I just thought I would just get it out there, but yeah, that's why I haven't seen this one.
Hey, Nelly's thinking you have some bias.
No,
I was. Go ahead, Mazi.
No, it's just because the women have a disadvantage when you have transgenders in your own sport. So that's the reason. That's the reason.
See, at least you were leaning towards that. I was thinking like, this is how determined you are when the Communist Party puts your family in a concentration camp and says if you don't win a gold medal, you ain't gonna see your family.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Maybe I'm a hater too. No, but that was just phenomenal, man. I mean, that's probably the most perfect dive I've ever seen my entire life. So that was impressive, right? I mean, that was pretty cool. Let's see. There's a couple others here that we can look at. I think who the Sydney McLaughlin.
No, I did see a post that is she a U.S. Female athlete?
Yeah,
that won gold. No, but I didn't see the race.
Well, she's killing it. She's in the hurdles, and I think in like some other things. And so far, dude, she is unstoppable. I mean, she broke the world record in like one of her heats, and it didn't even look like she was pushing herself that hard.
Wow.
And she's a Christian. Like I think a year or so ago, she Yes, amazing dive. Water bears. That's accurately offensive. Is that supposed to be a compliment, water bears? Or I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that. Am I getting chastised, or am I being agreed with? We might have to give you a double cup here pretty soon, water bears. But she's a Christian. She didn't run on Sundays and stuff like that. And she's just, I mean, she's untouchable. Like, watch this. So I don't think this is the final. I think this is like one of the. Oh no, this is the final. Oh no, semifinal. This is the semifinal.
She broke the world record in the semifinal.
Well,
race.
in the heat, this was before she breaks the record. So this is the semifinal when she qualifies for the final, and we'll just watch. I mean, she doesn't look like she's pushing herself, and she's just killing everybody. That's her right there.
Top two goes straight through to the final.
Sydney McLaughlin Negroni wasting no time down the backstretch. She's already caught Diallo to her outside. And she's already built up a big lead, Tanya.
Not surprising. She's run a 200 this year.
Like, that's still the eighth fastest time. Like, it doesn't look like she's pushing herself.
So we know that she's in great shape. She has phenomenal speed. So this will feel like nothing to her to get out in about 23 or 24 seconds through the first 200. And she is running away with it as we expected.
Goes by Hannah Klaus of Belgium. Look who is next best. Look on the inside. It's Joseph of South Africa.
Dude.
It's going to be a race for second because Sydney's cruising down the home stretch on the inside.
It's like only her on the video.
The crowd's gone crazy. The French athlete has run her way into second. And the final. Sydney McLaughlin wins over
crazy.
Her inside.
Did you hear the commentator? Why the crowd was going crazy? They were cheering for who was going to get second place because everybody is already like, we know she's going to win first place. So they're not even cheering for her because it's like already automatic.
She's dominating,
right? I mean, she is. There's some phenomenal athletes just kind of going on right now, man. There's another dude, a Cuban guy, 5 Olympic gold medals in a row.
That's impressive.
Dude, the guy's built like a tank. He's 41 years old and he just won his gold medal. So, go ahead, Masi.
No, she's 41 years old and he's still at the top. Usually when you're in those physical combat,
it's a young man's game.
Yes, 36, 37, but 41. And to win gold, that's pretty amazing.
Here's Water Bears started. Yeah, I think that's what explains it. I think Water Bears was not patient to wait for the show to start. While we were still going through the intro, Water Bears was already chugging it down. Oh, this is a good point, David. I mean, I shared on a Facebook post because Sha'Carri Richardson, a lot of these guys and gals are like from Texas.
More than California.
Dude, nobody wants to talk about California no more. California, Mickey Mouse already.
Okay. That's pretty impressive. Texas.
So some interesting, I mean, it's kind of sad that the Olympics had to have the silly intro and the beginning to their to the opening
they need
ceremonies.
To cut that. Olympics, they need to cut that nonsense. People are just there to compete and enjoy the Olympics, what it has to offer. None of these little side agendas, man. It's crazy. Same with all big organizations that try to do those things too.
Yep. It's and this is across the board. This is the reason, one of the main reasons why like Australia Rugby Union is going down the toilet bowl is they started, starting with Israel Folau with the get woke, go broke kind of deal. Like people want to see phenomenal performances by the athletes. They don't want to have some kind of like ideology, shoved down their throats. So this is kind of silly. I know one of the viewers wanted us to kind of do a response to kind of like the opening ceremony. I marked the video. Maybe we'll cross it in the future. But Here's a comment from David, the French community adopt. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. And I'll tell you what, man, when I was in Paris, I was there. They had the Olympic symbol
Kind of
up on the Eiffel
preparations and
Tower. There was
everything. Yeah.
trash everywhere. Trash everywhere. I mean, glass, broken glass. They spent maybe from 7 to around 10:30 just cleaning the city because there's just trash everywhere. Right? I
What is
mean,
that from? Is it just the homeless or the illegal? Because I know France
it's
has a lot of illegal
yeah. They say
people
in
there too.
Paris that like I watched this one girl and she said in places like Paris, it's like 60-40. 60% of the population are foreigners.
No, dang,
And
that's
and when
crazy.
I saw that, it kind of explained something to me because I was shocked. When we were driving through Paris, let's say it's a 4-lane road, there'd be 5-6 rows of vehicles. And
Hmm.
I'm like, Sienna, when I go to like, even Mexico is more organized than that. When I go to
Yeah.
Dominican Republic and some of these other places, that's what it's like.
Hmm.
There's just like a lot of chaos. And I was kind of shocked that I was like, man, freaking Paris is like that. And then when that girl shared that statistic, made me believe it. I was like, that's why you got so many. The majority of the people are
Don't understand
foreigners.
the laws and the driving rules probably in France. People are just doing whatever.
Whatever, they're bringing their driving style from who knows where, probably from wherever Water Bears is joining from. Eh? Yeah. Anyways, kataki Water Bear. Oaita. But yeah, just some interesting. Let me see if there's another video that I had on and anything stuck out to you, Mussy, in the Olympics.
Uh, Nothing. No, nothing really. It was more of the controversy with the whole opening ceremony. I didn't even watch it because of the time difference, and I didn't bother to try to look at it or anything. But yeah, it was just that Olympics is there to bring the other countries together, not to inject people's personal uh, philosophy on how people should live their lives. So
Oh yeah, we're Water Bears. I used to be woke until I went broke. Then I realized it was all a joke, so I went for a swim and worked on. Ay, Yahweh.
Malo, what a birds.
Maria, are you sure it wasn't? Was it just a backstroke, or were you working on the breaststroke and freestyle? Freestyle. Maria, I didn't
Maria,
know
ah.
Raini was so well versed in the different swimming techniques.
Eh.
Maria. But here was another one that was interesting that popped up.
Ooh, unfortunate.
Horrible news being reported on Samoa in rugby. According to Radio New Zealand, Samoa has dropped out of their Northern Hemisphere tour due to financial challenges and to avoid embarrassment of being the first small union to go bankrupt. Dude, how is Tonga not bankrupt first? I'm shocked. Because I see Samoa as a bigger economy, right? They have more athletes. And Tonga is terrible, corruption, and a bunch of other stuff. Well, I know why. Masi. I just thought of it
Yeah,
because when you're in the Ikaretahi, the players pay for their tickets, pay for their hotel. So even if the union goes bankrupt, it's been like that for decades. The players are already used to it, right?
yeah, they just do everything on their own, just for the love of the country, love of
Love
the
of the
game.
country. But it sounds like it's sad because Samoa has done some great work in rugby union the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
They've done really well. And it's kind of sad to see that this is a challenge that will because you mean not going on tour affects the quality of the competition that
Yeah,
they'll play. When is the Rugby Union World Cup coming up?
2027, I believe.
27? Okay.
Yeah,
This is terrible. The game in Samoa and Tonga is governed by and that's on the unfortunate thing. And really, rugby union needs to be very careful, in my opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are, this Mussy, but Rugby league is getting a lot of attention, and if
Mm,
World Rugby doesn't watch out, and also these rugby union governing bodies local in Tonga and Samoa, a lot of the talent will be looking at the NRL and
mm,
also Super League in
the
Europe.
UK. Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, I mean, if rugby union loses the top Polynesian talent, that's going to impact them, you
yeah,
know, and
yeah,
that's not going to be good for the final product for the
yeah.
sport.
I think this yes, Samoa and Tonga has some issues, but I think this is a macro issue, Tua. It's the way Union World Rugby is structured. It's really to benefit bigger
The bigger
countries,
nations, yeah,
bigger nations, especially when you have rules that you don't allow player movement. It's like I don't know why they're so anti-player movement. I don't know why that is a thing. Obviously, league has figured it out because once they made it that eligibility of country, if you're not picked for Australia, New Zealand, or the England for those bigger countries, you can choose to play. But
mm,
this rule of like the stand down for 2 years when you play for the All Blacks, like, dude, that is so silly. You need to allow player movement so that you get all the best players playing. You can't call yourself the best competition in the world when you have. I'm thinking. I'm sure there's some other guys, but the guys I'm thinking like Ngani Laumape, he played for the All Blacks. He couldn't play for the Ikaretahi the last World Cup, and there's a bunch of other guys who can't play
yeah.
when you have
Well,
stand down rules. And then to me, that makes it difficult to attract good workers for those unions because then you just let the guys who've been doing this sort of thinking and have that kind of mindset, guys who's running Tonga rugby, like the guys who running the world rugby, that mindset, and they just keep doing the same thing, and then you just
yeah,
eat up money all the time. But to me, when you get people really wanting the best and you have rules that are even for all countries, no matter if you have a big economy, small economy, big land size, or whatever, then you allow people who really care about the game, care about running the operation efficiently to kind of apply and get into the job. Because that's what I think. That's what I think.
No, 100%. Clyde Moore is definitely on board. Absolutely right, Fale. It's governed by idiots. I'm for the restrictive player movement, though. Players should be clear. Do they play for a check or do they play for country? Maybe give some clarification on that a little bit more, because you're saying that you don't like it when they go to other countries for club or for international. Clyde
Mhm.
Moore, but I'm kind of the same thought. This is why I think it's kind of ridiculous when I hear rugby union talk about cracking the U.S. market. Right? I was like, dude, the US sports consumer has a high expectation. It's about the product, right? And if you can't provide a product that is up to the level of the US sports consumer, don't even think about cracking the US market. And that's why I think it's kind of ridiculous when they restrict the best talent. Like here, let's look at this. At certain World Cups, the best guy in certain positions wasn't even playing. You take Israel Folau. Many people
Mm.
argued was the best fullback
Yeah,
in rugby union. He was taken out. Then you
yeah,
have Charles Putau, who was thought to be the best player across the board. He was
and
the
highest
highest
paid.
paid, and he wasn't even in the World Cup, right? So
Yeah.
you can say automatically the product suffers. And unfortunately, this is the reason why I got disenchanted with New Zealand, right? The All Blacks was because of these rules that, New Zealand was very influential for a small country, had a lot of power. And I think they specifically structured rules that hurt the Pacific nation teams. Like this silly thing that if you play for one country, then you're ineligible for 4 years. So what do the All Blacks do? On the off years, they play you for one game in games that don't even matter. So they make you play one game, makes you ineligible for another nation for 4 years, and then they know they're not going to use you. But
Well, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, you're right.
so
You're right. You're right. So no, I was just gonna add on to that, Tua, that to me, that's why it's weird when they have these test matches, because I call them, they're just exhibition matches. I don't know why it's a big deal. And then that's why they kind of get their picks of naming people. They just have one game for the All Blacks or even the Wallabies, and then they don't get selected again. But those are the rules that World Rugby needs to change, because when we see the the eligibility change for players, that really sparked, I think it was 2017 Rugby
Mhm.
League World Cup. Everyone felt like they had a chance. Like
Yeah.
Tonga, Matima Tonga beat New Zealand for the first time. We like I said, you're gonna have more competitive games instead of this whole luck. Once every 10, 15 years, maybe somebody will upset another country. But yeah, to me, the whole structure of World Rugby is just off, and it's just not entertaining at all. And that's another reason why it's going to be hard for them to even break the U.S. market with that mentality. Because I like what you said, a normal U.S. sports fan is going to demand a higher expectation, and they will ask like certain questions, like to me, like why do we, being America with all the money that it has, it's gonna say, why do we just have random test matches just for the sake of having test matches? Like
Yeah.
it's gonna be a big change that I think the fans, which generate the money for these sports franchises and organizations, they're gonna demand. But usually it looks like European fans and Australian, New Zealand fans, they like the status quo, and that's why World Rugby just functions the way it does.
Yeah. And it's they're starting to lose on multiple fronts. The
Yeah.
domestic competitions are suffering. The international competition is suffering. I wanted to find a video here. Um,
But this article that you brought up with Manu Samoa, I think it's unfortunate, but I think that's not the main. It's a bigger issue, because I know World Rugby literally gives just enough bread for these little organizations like Manu Samoa, Ikaretahi, and all the other small rugby teams just to survive instead of thriving, kind of thing. And it's a to me it's more of a macro issue. But
here's and this is we'll go through some of the comments here. And then I want to watch a video that's very interesting that to me kind of could explain why the product of rugby union is failing. And it
mm,
looked at when Australia was dominant and certain statistics that led to World Cup teams winning. Um, and we'll go through that. Hey, Kurt, Malo,
hey,
welcome.
Malo, Kurt, Malo, si ikaw may daw programa.
Clyde Moore says it suits league because they barely have an international game. If our quote unquote players and coaches actually chose to play for a country, we will get change. No, and I think that's what the whole Matema Tonga movement
Mm,
really set up. But they need the international, because here's I saw this Samoan guy, I forgot his name. He had some clips, but he's saying, see, like rugby union, you have to declare your allegiance when you're poor, right? He's like, when you're a young player just trying to survive, trying to pay your bills, they say you need to
that's the
pick which
Sapolo
country.
guy. Yes, I've seen that guy. The
Yeah,
Sapolo guy. He's a former Manu Samoa player. Yeah.
exactly. But he says rugby league, they allow you to make that choice after you've made your money, right? Like Jason
Mm,
Taumalolo already had his $10 million contract.
mm-hmm,
So he could give up, him and Andrew Fifita gave up 500K to
mm,
go for the Matema Tonga when you add up all the money that they lost not playing
mm,
for Australia or New Zealand. And
mm.
so it really, I mean, I agree the players have to choose, but the rules have to facilitate that. The players are in many ways subject to the rules.
They are.
So just like Laumape, just like Fekitoa, just like Charles Putau, they all wanted to play with Tonga, but they had to wait out the 4 years, right? Before they
And that's
could
a
play.
risk. And that's a risk. We're not getting them to play their best too,
Yeah.
because you're always, like I said, every game you're always one injury away from losing your opportunity to not be the same athlete you were yesterday.
No,
So
and like you're saying, and not only are they at risk, but then to play for Tonga, it's money out of their pocket. They gotta play for their flights. They, that was it World Cup in 2011. Even though they had the Ikaletahi had a fantastic World Cup,
Yeah.
The guys who for Tonga Rugby Union, they left the hotel, and the hotel had to come and say, "Hey, who's going to pay your guys' bill?" So the
Mm,
players had to pay the
mm,
hotel bill. It's pretty
mm.
embarrassing. So it's kind of sad to see that that's happening in Samoa, because it will really hurt the game in Samoa.
Um, no, Dua, just to touch up on that question from Clyde Moore with the whole country. That's why, to me, that's why it's more of a macro issue. They're functioning from a country level. The best way to really promote and really um, produce the best product is what the NRL has. You focus it on the franchises because most of the players will make their money there. So when it comes to international competition, money's really not a big deal. That's why the Jason Taumalolo guys, all these other guys can play for their heritage
Because
countries
the
because
NRL
money
is feeding them.
NRL,
Yeah,
that's the main thing. That's the top of the the pyramid, the NRL. The other ones are just more of the love of the game and your heritage. The union has made it the country as the pinnacle, and then when you do country, and then you're based. See, and this is the thing. Then you're really basing it off which country can have the most athletes they can pay, and it becomes a money thing. Because to me, if it functions like that, and let's just say America becomes like even close equivalent to the NFL, basketball, baseball, America's gonna buy everyone, and they're gonna play for America. Because I'm telling you, $1 million a season, that's like
it's
pennies
nothing.
for the U.S.
Yeah,
So to me, that's and yeah, if that makes it fun, that's fun. But to me, the NRL model of how they're going about it is a much better
yeah,
product, and you get people playing, what they really want to play, their heritage or the money, because the money is not an issue in the international game. But the All Blacks, because that's why it's important. Because when you play for the All Blacks tour, you get
you
to the
get a
All Blacks,
ton of
even if you do
money
one game, you can make more money when you go to the other clubs. When you just say you
because
play
you're all
for the All
black.
Blacks. See, that's different when you go NRL. Doesn't matter which NRL club, as long as you play in the NRL, what country you go to
That's
play
the
your international
pinnacle
game.
competition. Yeah,
Yes. So
that's where the
that's to
money
me.
is.
That's
That's a good point.
yeah.
Let's Clyde Moore had some more clarifications, as you guys might be missing a lot of the context in regards to union. It's older than football in league and is governed by self-serving unions, though sort of like NBA is now compared to the 90s. I mean, that's partially true, but World Rugby still structures the rules that
For
the union,
international
in
game.
order for a local union to be recognized, they have to submit to World Rugby's rules.
Yeah.
So I understand your point there, Clyde Moore, but still, World Rugby still can exclude you from the
Yeah.
international game, and as long as the international game is the pinnacle, then it
Yeah.
comes back to Massey's point. Um, Here's Water Bears, get Vegas involved with rugby, and everybody will eat. I
There we
mean,
go.
that's what the NRL is trying to do right now, right? Kind of get some foothold in Vegas with the opening games over there. So that NRL seems to think a lot like our brother from the Viney Doves. If the US had NFL athletes in rugby, I think we'd have a chance to compete. True, but there's still some nuances, right? I agree, but we have to get some consistency of people transferring over.
No, somebody brought the idea that America would have so much more boxers, especially male athlete boxers professionally. But because the NFL has grown so much and the money is so enticing, especially when you involve free education in the university level, a lot of the best athletes that would have participated like in other sports like boxing and other professionals, a lot of them are playing in the NFL because, like I said, the NFL with the whole, even the school system, that's probably a reason why there's just so many not too many heavyweight boxing in America coming out of America. It's mostly from Europe because of the NFL extracting. But I just thought I would just share that because I did
No,
see
100%,
somebody talk
100%.
about that.
People have a lot of comments here. The board of the World Rugby are heads of these unions that vote for their own 100%. That's the problem, right? It's voting for self-interest rather than the bigger picture, the product. Everyone and that's where I think where league has it right. They're worried about making a better product, right? And that's a different mentality going back to the origins of rugby union and rugby league. Rugby union has never been concerned about the product. They've been concerned about the spirit of the game, right? That's the whole split. because that was kind of like the upper class rugby
Yeah.
union. The rugby league, they split off because they were working class. They wanted to get paid, and they're more driven by a better product. That's why their game has evolved and changed. I always crack up watching these videos now in rugby union where they're, where they have the, that typical attacking pattern in rugby league where you have a guy cutting short and then a guy deep swinging. I was like, dude, league's been doing that for over a decade now. And now I'm seeing all these rugby union people like, oh, look at this. It's amazing. I'm like, Shanna, welcome back. Like that's nothing new. But hey, going to that comment that you made earlier made me think of this video. And it's a US athlete talking about how he got a professional rugby contract in like a day or whatever.
Yeah.
Professional rugby contract in just one day. It all started back in March earlier this year when the NRL, which stands for the National Rugby League, came from Australia to play in Las Vegas, Nevada. They had a tournament a few days before, and I was asked by a friend to play in. For all those who know me, I'm a football player. I've been playing football my entire life, but I decided to try rugby league for the first time ever. Honestly, the main reason I went was to get some content. I was actually using this very mic when I was playing. So I showed up, decided to play, and did really well in my first game. As I was playing, I was pulled to the side by an Australian agency called PSM. If you guys don't know who PSM is, they represent Jordan Mailata with the Eagles and some of the top NRL players. Apparently, they were impressed with the way I was playing. They told me after the tournament, meet up with them. And y'all know me, man. If I got a chance to shoot, I'm a shoot. Pull up to the hotel. We talked about some contracts, what rugby league is. Mind you guys, this is all new to me. I never played rugby league in my entire life. I just know how to get the ball and score touchdowns. But in rugby league, they call it tries. Finally came time where the professionals were playing in Allegiant Stadium for the kickoff of the NRL season. They had box seats, went up to their suite.
I just serve you guys like here.
Nice.
Beautiful stadium.
Lived lavish. And I ended up actually signing with that agency.
It's a Tongan kid, looks like.
Yeah.
After this is all said and
Was
done,
that him?
they go back to Australia.
Yeah, that's him.
A few weeks later, they hit me up saying I have a professional rugby league contract to the Super League in England. And that team is the Leeds Rhinos, a very well-known team with rich history and culture. So right now, that's
where Conrad Harrell is right now. Is he with the Leeds Rhinos? Yeah.
From what I understand.
Contract on the
And
table,
Wolf
and looks
also
like we're
was
going
there.
into it. Never thought in a million years I'd be a rugby league player. Now I'm officially a professional, and this is how I earned a.
So interesting. I mean, just like we were talking about earlier, the transfer athletes are for real.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. Tongan kid. Okay, I didn't know he was a
Yeah, it looks like he played football in Oregon.
Yeah. Oregon's a nice facility school.
Oh, I just, they just got the unlimited NIL from Mr. Knight from Nike. So that's going to have a huge impact. I just saw this. He must be a Oregon Duck fan, but he was hyping up how like Oregon, now that they're in the Big Ten, right? And they're just going to be super dominant. And I'm like, well, we'll see. Yeah. But he was all like, Ducks are going to change everything. So this video right here, and we'll walk through this real quick. This video was very interesting. It really opened kind of like my mind and my eyes to thinking that growth and an expansion of club can really hurt the international game. And this may be the reason. It's almost like if this is true and you look at Union and you look at the league, it seems like it's kind of like you have to pick one or the other, right? And I know it sounds counterintuitive because it doesn't make sense. You would think, building your domestic competition would make it better on the international level, right? But this guy goes through a very interesting position where he says, actually, the more teams you have on a domestic level, it actually, at least from the historical data that he shows, seems to affect your ability to perform at a higher level, which is kind of counterintuitive. But let's watch this and kind of see. It's kind of interesting.
The game of rugby began, international teams were principally made up of players selected from local clubs, except for 3 countries, New Zealand, South Africa, and Australia. Players were selected from provincial teams above the club system. And the New Zealand and South African provinces would play regular seasons, helping the All Blacks and Springboks to remain dominant forces for most of the 20th century. And in capital cities with larger groups of players, those provinces became stronger. While in Australia, there were 2 major provinces that made up the Wallabies, New South Wales and Queensland. Historically, these states played very few games. However, from 1970 onwards, Queensland started to play longer seasons, in some years playing up to 21 games, more than any club or province in the world.
A lot of games.
Unsurprisingly, Queensland started to win frequently against New South Wales, who were a more historically dominant team. The flow-on effect in the 1980s was that the Wallabies were comprised of Queensland and New South Wales players who had increased shared experience together at the provincial level.
Oh, why aren't they texting me
Oh,
back? Are they mad at me?
why?
Do they not
Why?
like me anymore?
Advertisement.
I'm scared to ask for reassurance.
By selecting players from only 2 teams, the Wallabies had a higher level of cohesion than the British home nations and even the All Blacks. This was illustrated by the 1986 Wallaby team that won the Bledisloe Cup in New Zealand for the first time in 37 years. The Wallabies had 9 players from New South Wales and 6 from Queensland. In comparison, the All Blacks had players from 9 different provinces. In contrast, a year later, when the All Blacks beat the Wallabies in Australia, they had selected a team that had 10 players from 1 provincial team, Auckland. In 1991, when Australia won their first World Cup, the Wallaby team had a combined total of 366 starting caps for Australia. However, their opponents in the final, England, had greater experience with 449. But prior to the World Cup, the New South Wales and Queensland sides had played a total of 24 games. This increased the shared game time between Wallabies, making them more cohesive. But in addition, the Wallabies also had a second level of shared experience, with players in combination positions having played together at their same local club. 2 of these players in the back line had even played together from the age of 12. By comparison, the English team had players from 6 different clubs from the English Club League. In this case, the Wallabies' greater level of cohesion gave them an advantage over a more experienced opponent. There are 3 main ways international rugby teams build cohesion: long-term repetition of selection, extreme consistency of selection prior to a competition, and through high levels of lower cohesion in the feeder teams. Long-term repetition of selection is best shown by England's World Cup winning team of 2003. In the final, the Wallabies had a combined total of 355 starting caps for Australia. However, the English team had a far superior 610. The repetition of selection of the English squad over a 4 to 5 year period had built up their level of cohesion. Extreme consistency in the lead-up is where a team keeps selecting the same squad in a 2-year period before a competition. When South Africa won the 2019 World Cup, 79.6% of their World Cup winning lineup had been selected for the previous 2-year period. In contrast, the Wallabies' percentage was 70.9%, while back in 1999, when they won the final, it was 83.6%. And lastly, an international team achieves cohesion from high levels of lower cohesion in the provincial and club teams that transfers upwards. This is exhibited by the 1999 World Cup winning Wallabies, who were supported by the ACT Brumbies and Queensland Reds. Other examples are the Crusaders, who have had the most cohesive spine in world rugby, providing the foundation for a successful All Blacks team. The influence of cohesion in international rugby is best illustrated in the recent...
So really interesting. Like, it's talking about how, and we see this in other sports too, right? In the NBA and stuff. When you just bring superstars that have all the talent, but they don't have the cohesion and working together as a team, it actually has a negative impact. They're not as successful as teams who are maybe not as talented, but have been playing together for a long time. They get that cohesion, allows them to be successful. No, any thoughts on that, Mussy?
I think when you talk about 15 players, I think the emphasis is really important with cohesion. I NBA, because I'm just thinking when you have a small amount of player, I think it's really important to have at least one superstar, because when it comes to like the last 2 minutes, and you can let your
Take control.
superstar really
Yeah.
really shine. I think that's that can be a critical part. But when you're dealing with so many individuals, right? You're talking about 15 on each. That's not including the sidelines when you do want to sub. I think the cohesion what this guy is talking about with his data point is very important to get good outcomes.
Yeah, and he's going to get into it later how Super Rugby negatively impacted Australia. And he'll get into it, and he'll actually show that really hurt them. So
Like, there's too many teams. Are there too many teams in Australia? Is that
yeah,
because I know they tried to take away the Western Force, and then now it's back. I think the Queensland Reds are currently in the brink of going kind of bankrupt, because I know they're facing some financial issues.
mhm,
So maybe they should just let those two clubs die, and
yeah.
maybe
Well, and that's he'll get into it, but like
yeah.
that's something that's really really important here. So looks like Clyde Moore here, Ben Darwin, director of Gainline Analytics, is a big proponent of cohesion. He's an analytic genius, so good for you found this. Yeah, I mean this is something that's kind of this interesting video. I guess a big Union fanatic, seen from the
Oh,
great
it's
days and
fine.
so frustrated. Yeah, I mean if you're a huge Union fanatic, it's hard to not be disappointed with how the product is right now, because in the glory days, right, in the mid 90s, even in the 80s, late 80s, rugby union, well, what, those were like glory days, man. Now we don't have that as much.
Mm, mm.
Here, let's come back here and keep going.
History of the European nations. From 1991 to 2004, the Six Nations was won by either England or France 12 out of 14 times. And in the European Club Championship, an English or French club won 9 out of 10 times. These nations selected players from club competitions, meaning they were drawing from a minimum of 9 feeder teams. With each country structured the same way, England and France were dominant because they had larger numbers of players to choose from. While the Celtic nations did have provincial teams, these provinces played less frequently. But that all changed in 1998, when Ireland's 4 provinces moved into a regular professional competition and rapidly increased their games per season. Wales also made a monumental change in 2004 by reducing from 9 clubs to 4 regional teams. Scotland, with only 2 teams, also joined this competition with Welsh and Irish clubs. All 3 nations now had a smaller number of professional clubs playing a minimum of 30 games per season, increasing shared experience amongst players that would transfer upwards into the national teams. And the effect of these changes was immediate. From 2005 to 2019,
better competition.
Ireland and Wales won the Six Nations 9 out of 15 times, and the European Club Championship was won the most amount of times by an Irish club. But the best example of cohesion playing a factor was in 2008. Wales had recruited a new coach, New Zealander Warren Gatland, who had no shared experience with his playing group.
Say you're an independent business, like a photographer, or a marketing
One day we'll
consultant,
graduate
or
to
designer, or one of thousands of professions that sell
to the freer
clients.
version.
You want
For the Six Nations competition, Gatland selected a Welsh team made up of 13 players from the provincial side, Ospreys. That team went through undefeated and became Six Nations champions. After rugby turned professional in
See, and that's the thing. We always assume that success is more teams, more competition, right? We think that that's success. But when you're looking at this, you have to be kind of a little bit more cognizant that more teams means more fracture, more or less cohesion, which means your overall product will suffer, right? And what we're learning from Super Rugby is not only does Super Rugby get unprofitable, on top of getting unprofitable, your international product suffers for each nation. As you can see, when Australia had fewer teams to select from, they were dominant. When England, Scotland, and Wales and Ireland consolidated and made fewer teams, all of a sudden everybody is more competitive. So it's kind of counterintuitive because we measure like success by how many more teams. If you add more teams, you're more successful. Now it makes sense to me why the NFL is so slow to expand. Right? They must understand something of this because they're not just jumping out. Yeah.
Before this video came out, because they've been in 32 teams for so long,
forever.
And the NFL is the richest sports organization in the world. We're just like, man, how come they're not expanding? But
yeah,
slow, very slow, because they know something. I mean, these are the top guys,
and they're very cautious of the product, right? Yes. They're concerned of, are we giving the best product that we can give? So it kind of opened my eyes because I was like, man, why is the NFL not expanding? Don't make sense.
Hey, Dua, so you're trying to say when the Super Rugby added Moana Pacifica, they shouldn't have done that because it's gonna.
Well, no, not necessarily. When they added Fiji, it was good because that's for Fiji as a nation. That was good, right? And they're not fracturing the talent. Now for New Zealand, I think it would hurt because if they're pulling, now that Moana Pacifica is pulling New Zealand players, yes, it hurts. But if Moana Pacifica was based in Samoa and Tonga and they were pulling from athletes in Samoa and Tonga, then it wouldn't hurt. It would be a positive. But it's when you're adding more teams in New Zealand, then it hurts New Zealand.
See, because I would argue it just enables the All Blacks to have, because they can pick teams from Moana Pacifica and even guys from Fiji team if they wanted to, because they're still part. If they have eligibility rules that fits New Zealand, that can play for the All Blacks for a game, and then that would ruin their whole their whole representation for like Ikaritahi or Manu Samoa or even Fiji. But yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No, and that's the thing, Masi. You could make the argument as New Zealand, as more Super Rugby teams in New Zealand are added, because in many ways, even the Moana Pacifica have the All Blacks become more dominant or less dominant?
I would say past 2 years. Yeah, I don't know. I would say they're still pretty dominant.
No, but I said more or less.
Maybe less.
I would say less. I would say like 7 years ago, if you were to beat the All Blacks, that was kind of unheard of, right? It was like, dang, nobody. Now it's kind of like, oh, Ireland could beat them. South Africa could beat them. My team, the Wallabies, will probably never beat them anytime soon, But I've seen that New Zealand is actually less competitive, and you could make the argument, Bill, they added another team that's New Zealand based, the Moana Pacifica. Now you're gonna take what's Savea. Artie, is that his name? Who's the captain?
Yep. Artie Savea.
He's going to Moana Pacifica, so he's not going to play with the other All Black guys on the Blues. So the cohesion there is going down.
Okay, I can see that point.
Right? And he talks about it a little bit more when it comes up. I have a couple more comments here. Oh, Yahweh. Malo, Clyde Moore, we won't say no. All for the culture. Yeah, there's a theory was true, but the French team is an anomaly. They have 14 teams and are a powerhouse. Powerhouse, except they've never won a World Cup. Right? I don't think, have they ever won a World Cup? I don't think the French.
Nope. They've been to the finals, but never won it.
And the French are known more for the flair, right? Not necessarily cohesion. It's more like the individual flair. I guess you could say one could make that position. One needs to be governed by Samoa and New Zealand, but I think New Zealand needs Kaka and another feeder. Martin kind of mentioned that earlier. But also, as we mentioned in the article earlier, the biggest problem, we would love for Samoa and Tonga, but they're making the international teams go bankrupt. So,
well, here's my thing. I think there's more kids, especially in the Samoa and Tonga, and even in the Polynesian community in New Zealand. I think there's going to be a more push towards league. To be honest, league just seems more catchy. More, I don't know. It's more even with the whole money's not really a big deal, especially when you've signed a good long-term deal in the NRL that you can play for Samoa and Tonga and not feel like you're choosing
You're
just
making
money.
your family suffer, right?
Yes.
Because that's the
Yes.
pressure. When you're a young athlete and your family sees you to go professional, and you got to remember, it's not just mom and dad and siblings. You got cousins, aunts, right?
Mhm.
Everybody's looking to you. They're like, oh yeah, wait, this is the guy that's going to help all of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get through this real quick, and he's going to get into how the teams when the Super Rugby and how that hurt.
1995, New South Wales and Queensland began to play in the Super Rugby provincial competition against 5 New Zealand and 4 South African teams. A third Australian team, the ACT Brumbies, was added to the competition. However, the Brumbies' core group were made up of a provincial team known as the Kookaburras, who had achieved success at amateur levels and had players with history and shared experience. This made the Brumbies immediately competitive, with them making the final in only their second season. These 3 provincial teams were the key contributing factor to making the Wallabies successful. This factor is valued by the TWI for each team, or the Teamwork Index. The Teamwork Index is a unique metric that measures the quantity and intensity of connections between players in a team. This complex algorithm accounts for shared experiences, player combinations, and the strength of a team's system. But overall, the TWI figure is a key indicator of whether a club has contractual stability, which means how much talent stays and is developed within a club's system. And in 1998, the 3 Australian teams had an average TWI of 95%, a figure far higher than the averages.
We have a very welcome Chewy to the program, but a very important question by Chewy. Why is the beer at rugby matches so expensive?
I don't know. I've never drank a beer at a rugby match, but I don't know why is it.
Yeah, for us it would be why is the soda so expensive? But it's the same idea, right? Any
or some Kava. I don't know if they drink.
we're going to defer the response to Water Bears. He is our official spokesman, PR relations of the Kalapu here, right? Water Bears is the official spokesman. So, oh yeah, well, shit. Oh yeah, well, I thought he was going to answer the question, but that's a different one. Water Bears, we want you to answer Chewy's question. I'll bring it back up. Why is the beer in the matches so expensive? Tonga is banned from USA Sevens because a bunch of them ran away. You start a new one. Unfortunately, some of that has a lot of truth. So, in the meantime, Water Bears, come up with the answer for Chewy's question, Kataki.
Of the South African and New Zealand teams. The TWI of Australia's 3 provincial teams remained the highest during the period in which the Wallabies won their second World Cup in 1999, defeated the British and Irish Lions, and held the Bledisloe Cup for 5 consecutive years. However, that changed in 2006 when Australia expanded to 4 professional teams and added a franchise from Perth called the Western Force. To boost the force, the Queensland Reds lost 12 contracted players, which immediately reduced the built-up cohesion and stability of the Reds.
Interesting. See, this is where he starts to break it down on the cohesion. Oh, malo to the PR and communications director for the Kava sessions because of Biden. 100%. I mean, that would have been, man, we must be on the same wavelength, Water Bears. But that's from my experience. Not only has the products in the games gone up, but even at the grocery store. So, Masi, do you approve of that official response?
Yes, approve Waterberg's official response. I can notarize and let it send out to make it public. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Atiaroa has given his stamp of approval. That is the Kalapu's official position. Malo Water Bears. Kona popo to a Clyde Moore. Malo.
2011, a 5th team was created, the Melbourne Rebels. By expanding the number of provincial teams, Australian rugby had distributed the talent in order to make the 5 teams competitive. However, in doing so, it destroyed the previously established levels of cohesion that was built up over more than 3 decades.
I think that right there, that gets us far enough in this video, but that's the whole point, right? We think expansion is a good thing. And it looks attractive because, it's a bigger market share. We're going to get more, but it can actually hurt the overall product. And that's where, rugby union in Australia has suffered. The NRL has state of origin, whereas the teams grow in the NRL, but they still have state of origin that has a high level of cohesion, because these guys are playing at a high level multiple times, not just on the international level, but in the state
level
of origin.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Masi?
No, I think this theory seems to, this is a good data when you have national teams, right? And it's leading towards it, so that makes sense. But it's only going to get harder and harder for the Wallabies to do well. Like, it's either they have to drastically reduce their Super Rugby teams, because I feel like the talent pool has also shrunk. Like, a lot of the feeder teams are actually going into league. That's what I feel like. And then, like, these wealthy Australian guys, that if they see somebody that's kind of going up, they have to like spend quite a few money, like that Manu guy and that other Samoan guy that's with the Roosters. He's the one that he played in the state of origin, but he got
Suali, Joseph.
Joseph. Those two guys, they're forking up a lot of money, but those guys, they were developed under the league, and that's their thing. But I don't know if that's sustainable with going that route. So
no, 100%. Same thing. No, 100% agree there. Roman Empire's expansion. You lose cohesion when you get spread out too much. This is why we're seeing the riots in England right now. This is why we're seeing all these, because you're losing cohesion. That people underestimate that stability. Really, what we're talking about, even though it's sports, we're talking about stability. And we're seeing that impact not only in sports, but also politically and in the social arena as well. So looks like Chewy's thinking agrees with the analysis on the video. It's the, I don't know if saturated is the exact word I would use. I would say it's a little bit spread too thin. It's naughty. It's overextended, maybe. But it's either that or I don't understand what saturated means. But there's a couple things here that let's go through the questions before we change gears. The unions in New Zealand and Oz lose so many players to league because it's
okay.
It's the money, and it's there's more of a sexy appeal to say you're an NRL player, right? Than you're saying you're a Brumbies or a Melbourne Storm. The NRL has a lot more attractive branding to it, right? Just look at New Zealand. Just look at the Warriors right now. The Warriors right now have way more social media impact than any team in the union. Because right now, Up the Waz is everywhere. That's an international thing right now. Even people who don't even know what that means.
No, that's interesting because so that's good to know because I wasn't aware of it. I've always known Suadi as a league guy, but looks like, but like I said, the elites of the Wallabies, they're willing to fork up that money to come. Good on Suadi to come, but like I said, I don't know if that's sustainable because I guess as an overall system and operation, looks like league has got it together if it's attracted those guys in a much younger stage of their careers coming from union to league. But no, that's a good insight, Clydemore.
Hey, Chewy, Malo. It just sounded fancy. That's hilarious. That's hilarious, Uso, man. I appreciate that. That's funny. Oh Yahweh. Okay, so we're gonna switch gears. One more video before we're gonna get into some Tuitonga and Tuimanua discussions here, especially on the Pule Malay Mound, where Mr. Atearo is gonna do some translation for us. But there was one social media about a post by a gentleman. I think he was a Samoan gentleman. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong screen. Where he talked about, let me see if I can find it. Yes, I got the video, and we're gonna share this. He talks about, how he started getting into the kalapu, and
Mm.
he reached out to someone, and just wanted to talk about that real quick and his experience, and really
Oh, nice.
the role that, let's make it a little bit bigger, the role that Kava and the Kalapus can have on the Polynesian male experience.
I reached out to the community to see if there was any Kava clubs in San Diego, mainly because I was like surrounded by my kids and I needed to get the fuck out, and I needed to be surrounded by Polynesians, Samoans, Tongans, Fijians. The response was pretty quick, and I swear the networking that these Kalapus have is pretty tight knit. Like, I'm not well versed in the Kava culture like Tongans and Fijians are. I'm Samoan, so I grew up in a different type of culture when it becomes the Kava. First off, in Samoan culture, we call it Ava, and Ava ceremonies are usually conducted during like special ceremonies, celebrations, and usually are conducted by like high chiefs or dignitaries that are visiting other villages. It's a form of like respect and like a form of us welcoming someone into the village. So this here is an example of an Ava ceremony that is being conducted by some Baptist youth group. Here you can see that it's very ceremonial, it's very traditional. Here they are greeting and welcoming other visitors to the village or to the ceremony, and they are going to present the cup to the representative of the visitors. Now, this is the traditional way that I was brought up in Kava.
Mm.
I don't know any other. I didn't even know if Samoans even drink recreational. I grew up in the culture like we didn't drink kava as a recreational thing. You know, Tongans, Fijians, Micronesians, other cultures of the Pacific, they drink kava as a recreational thing, like together. You know.
Hey, Bears, there. Hey, crack up. He just said Fijians right here. But listen, unless these are the Lao guys, but
No, those sounds like I think I've seen this video. It's a bunch of Tongan guys
yeah.
looking at the kids up.
When I grew up, my mom was like, "Okay, Ava, wait, okay, you Ava." Like it was a thing that it was like only for like special ceremonies. Now that I've seen,
I mean, so just so we gone so far, oi, Rockstone, Malo, welcome. Lomai Viti and Naya. Yeah, could be.
Oh, okay.
Could be Lomai Viti. Used to drive by Lomai Viti all the time on the way to Liahona.
Yeah.
Welcome, Malo.
Hello.
So I mean, obviously, this is one of the things, and the suicide rates for males is like skyrocketing compared to historical data, right? And I think a big part of it is kind of like, I'm not saying that this brother right here is suicidal, but he's proving a point. There's a lack of connection, a lack of like that type of brotherhood that he's obviously recognizing, like, I need something, right? And so he's reaching out to the Kava community, and dude, I'll tell you right now, man, the Kalapu networks are legit, man. Like these Kalapus are connected. They know each other because whenever they travel, they're visiting different ones, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, look at right here, like Water Bear's mentioning right here. Everyone knows where the different kalapus are,
Mm.
right? And when they visit that area, they go check them out. They
Yep.
go and contribute whenever there's things. They help in the community. But from your experience, Masi, what's the negative perspective from like kind of like the Samoan perspective on Kava? Is it viewed, or is it just unique to this gentleman's family? Maybe.
No, no, yeah, no. He's. It's just not a social thing in Samoa. There's only a few times that I've been around that some people will drink kava or ava as like a social thing around Samoa, but it's not common. I think it's just I don't know. It's just a thing that it's not commonly practiced. It's I would try to make this maybe similar to an analogy to like Tongan women, especially with Tongan Tongan families with the with the women, and if a woman gets a tattoo, it's really
Mm,
looked down upon. Let's just say it's kind of the same. Let's just take that mentality. It's kind of the same thing applied to how Samoans view Ava. That it's not really a social thing that you just gonna just drink out of normal. It's only for cultural, very heavy protocols and certain movements. You only do it for certain important events. That's
yeah,
how they view it, and that's how they kind of chew it. And it's just like how
their
sometimes Tongan
perspective on
family,
it.
yes,
Yeah,
Tongan families, how they'll view like, especially a girl having a tattoo, a Tongan woman having a tattoo. It's the same thing. It's just
that
that's how
just
I can
grew
kind of,
into the culture,
yes,
and that just yeah.
yes, over time. So it's kind of that's how close I probably can explain to kind of have the analogy kind of similar to what this Samoan gentleman is explaining.
Malo Rockstone bringing up the Fobland Water Bears. So
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah, let's come back. So I mean, so obviously this guy's he's looking for it. He reached out.
Mm,
So that's pretty awesome. Looks like everybody is doing their shout outs to their local kalapus.
mm,
Marie. And very true. I grew up with hella Hamoas in SoCal, and barely any of them fight Kava. Yeah,
mm,
and it looks like they're gonna looks like they're turning the corner because they want to have that brotherhood, and it's
mm.
exciting to see that because then that gives us more opportunities to mingle together as Polynesians.
Correct. Correct.
Seeing like because kalapus now, like I've seen them on the internet. They're huge. They're spreading, and I think it's like an invite only type of thing. It's like an underground type of thing. I don't know. I was kind of stoked when stuff will reach out to me
Why is she fighting?
and was
Across
willing
the
to
border.
introduce me to the culture. So I don't know the rules like that, but I'm willing to learn because there's two different types. Like they drink kava differently. Like I don't really drink kava like that. The last time I drank kava, I was on deployment. I was in Iraq, and this Micronesian dude had brought kava. That it was in a powdered bag, and he mixed it and gave it to us in like these plastic water bottles. And we just sat there and drinking it. And we would drink kava after like missions or after patrols. And that shit was wild. Like my lips tingled and all that. But I'm looking.
Dude, Micronesians drink a ton of kava. When I was
Mm,
in Dallas and was selling kava over there, the Micronesians would drive from Kylene, which is like 4 hours away, and they'd
hmm.
buy like $800 worth of kava.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
like these guys are legit.
And
Go ahead.
is that like a Polynesian thing that was introduced to them in the Micronesian area, or is Micronesians just in their cultural just used to drink it socially?
Well, and that I'm not sure, to be honest, because this is kind of like one of the unique identifiers for the cohesiveness of
Yeah.
Polynesia as a group. Because in Polynesian, there's a consistent naming.
Mm,
Micronesia had different names for it for different areas. Same thing in Melanesia. They have different names for the kava plant. But looks like here, Jim Bean, Maria, Clyde Moore, this must be the Lone Wolf Kava Club. Maria. Let's see here. It's looks like Maka is saying it's growing with the Kauha Moa here in Salt Lake City. They already have a couple of, yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, now that I think about it, even throughout the U.S., kalapus were mostly a Tongan thing. Even the Kaufisi, they would drink kava, but it wasn't quote unquote a kalapu. It was more like just guys hanging out every so often. Kalapu is obviously a little bit more formalized, right? A lot of the kalapus will have a
Yeah.
president. They have a little
They
bit
have it
more
a location too. It wasn't just moved to any other place or people's houses. It was a certain location that people would get money and purchase like a place or something.
Yeah. No, 100% looks like another KTT. A Kalapu member there. Malo, yeah, the Micronesians looks like they're forming Kalapus up there in the Mile High in Denver. So it's definitely and like I said, didn't they just have the what is it, Kava Lake City type deal
Oh,
that just
okay.
happened? Well, dude, they had like a
No.
convention and they like hired out like a whole hotel room and all the Kalapus came together. I'm gonna see if I can find a video of that.
Okay. Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know the
Yeah.
Micronesians and people from the Marshall Islands. I didn't know it was a big thing. I knew people in Vanuatu and stuff were drinking kava a lot.
So
But
this is just some. Oh, it looks like Vingy might have gone. I'm just gonna share her videos. Sorry, Vingy, but it's the first thing that popped up when I searched it. So, but
Because it's just the four of us. Four of
see,
us
and
right
it's like
now.
they all have tables for the different kalapus that were there. I guess it's like some kind of like convention that they think it's gonna be like an annual thing.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting, and look, you have all kinds of different people there, right? All the different kalapus showing up, doing their stuff, so kind of interesting. So this is really getting some momentum, the kalapu and the kava type situation, man.
Okay.
So yeah, here's Rockstone's like, yeah, it was July 13th, Kava Lake City. So we're really interesting. Some kalapu would bring, yeah. Hey, water bears, man, we don't want you to get banned, my brother. Look at Rockstone's trying to keep you on the straight and narrow, water bear. Straight and narrow, water bear. Here's water bear blaming other people, but mahalo ko siya na institute that idea. Hey, water bears, don't blame your brothers in the kalapu. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. Let's come back and finish our our Uso's video here.
To join a community. I'm looking to join a community of Kava
Exactly.
drinkers, just to be around like Polynesian people, just to be around, like listen to them singing, enjoy the culture. That's basically it. Mainly to get the fuck up out of that house because my kids are crazy. But yeah, but it's like a getaway. So I don't know if I could film during these sessions. Like,
100%, man.
But I'll update after and let you know how it goes. The other.
No, I mean, see, this kind of interesting, right? I mean, I think this is a positive thing as long as it can be maintained. As always, you can take anything good and make it bad, depending on the choices you make, But I think it's going to be interesting to watch this. You're starting to see, even just in general American culture, anyone who hangs out with the Polynesians now, they all know kava. Kava bars are popping up, not even owned by Polynesians, right? And so there's a lot of that exposure to the culture that I think will be interesting. Any thoughts on that, Mush?
No, it's pretty cool. All the kalapus that are like springing up, people have more options because certain kalapus fit certain kind of people, and it's depending on the kalapu, like what kind of conversations you can also get. That's a big driver because
that's a good point.
Yeah, because there's a difference. I've been around in some of the kapu, especially when my older brother comes from Tonga. When you go to like a typical one of the bigger kalapus that I know, probably in they're internationally recognized as the Fofoanga
Yeah,
Kalapu,
even
right?
in Tonga, they're one of the largest kalapus.
Yes, yes. Over here, there's a difference when I go there and then when I go and fight Kava at a at a church. You know, it's different conversations, different kind of you can get. It's a different kind of feel. So like even when you're at the church, when you go fight Kava at the church, it's really kind of thing. You go with a tupeno. It's just more of a respectful
Formal.
thing. Formal, you can have a lot deeper conversations compared to the fofoanga. You can talk about whatever, whatever. So it depends, eh? So to me, it's good. What
I
kind of
want I want to
kalapus you
clarify
can
real
create?
quick, Masi. When Masi says whatever is what bears, that doesn't mean whatever comes to your mind. I just want to clarify, Masi, before Wada Bear says, "Hey,
Yeah.
Tua and Masi gave me the green light to do whatever I think." Ikai,
Oh,
Ikai,
what?
the
Oh, what?
the public
Oh, what?
relations still needs to be brought to the table to be confirmed before you release an idea.
Mm,
Here,
So
quick
yeah,
question here, Masi from
yeah.
Rockstone. Where's the Fofoanga in New Zealand?
So
Where are they
there,
located?
there's two. There's one. There's one because their membership is huge. So there's one in South Auckland. So it will say South
Mm.
Auckland Fofoanga, and then there's another one more in Central Auckland Fofoanga. I think it's in. I haven't been to that one. The one I've been to is the one in South Auckland, which is in Otara, here in
Is
New Zealand.
the Mosmos Cola still a big kalapu? Is that still, because I
Ooh,
remember a time where the Mosmos Cola used to be,
I'm
one of
pretty
like a
sure.
big one.
I'm pretty sure it's still here, but I'm not too sure. Not too sure, but I know the Fofoanga is the one that I've kind of been around here. And then even with the many around the Tongan churches, the Sias Inglani and some other, Wesleyana, those typical ones, they have a Faikava at their Faneloto or their hall. They usually have. It's always a different feel and what kind of conversations you can have. So, and to
Sweet.
me, it's good to have all these like options too, because like I said, more options can fit. Everyone has different personalities and
Well,
things they want to talk about.
no, and I think you're bringing up a good point there, Masi. Is you don't have to be exclusively to one, right?
Mm,
And there's the thing. There you could have like your primary kalapu that you go to, but hey, let's say tonight you just want to get a little bit more deep discussion, you go to this
mm,
kalapu because that's what they're known for.
mm,
That's the beauty about going to different kalapus is you're exposed to different ideas, different personalities, and that's what makes it cool. Like that would be one of the recommendations if I was talking to this Uso right here. I'd be
mm,
like, hey man, go try out a couple of them, right? And then
mm.
one can be your regular, and then your other ones you stop by because that's what these Kalapu guys do all the time. When
Yeah,
they go to a different town, they go check out the different Kalapus,
mm,
get to meet people, network,
yeah.
um, and discuss that. So where's the Kalapu 420? Mereseni. Okay, Kurt. Okay, Kurt. Looks like Clydemore is lined up for that.
I'll be there too.
Yeah, where Maka just said thank you for the answer, Masi.
Yeah.
I think Maka is gonna make an undercover appearance
Oh,
over there in
yeah. It's
Central and
pretty.
South Auckland.
Yeah, it's pretty thick. Pretty thick. I've gone over here. It's pretty thick, and it's always good amount of guys over there. Fofoanga, internationally recognized kapu, man.
Oh, it's not like a motorcycle gang. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But like Masi said, each Kalapu has their own flavor. There might be a Hell's Angel version somewhere.
Yeah.
Yahweh. Anyways, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Just I think that's kind of the video is kind of representative of how the kava culture is growing. It's expanding. It does provide an avenue for men. It's not now the women are also getting involved where they're hanging out
Yeah.
with their sisters and their cousins and doing it. And as always, if you do it right, it's a beautiful thing. Now you can always take something beautiful and ruin it, but
Yeah.
just because
There's
some people
always
ruin it doesn't mean it doesn't provide value for other people.
No, I was gonna add that this guy, this Ha'amoa, is also just experiencing some of the Tongans who actually leave Tonga and they go to like new places. The first thing, and even if these guys are not even, some of
Drinkers
these
of
guys I
kava,
know,
yeah,
yeah, they've never even drink kava back in Tonga. It was like not
but it's
not none of
yeah,
their thing. But they said they in order for them to understand where's the Tongan community and who's the Tongan community, where they live, they go to Faikava Kalapu to find out who are the Tongan community is. So it's the same thing, man. Same thing. It's for everybody. Yeah.
100%. So let's see at our time here. We've been on for about an hour and a half. Let me see if I can find the video that I sent. I thought I saved it. I guess I can go to the chat, one of our chats, to pull it up because I wanna do some Mr. Atearo is gonna do some translations for us. Let me see if I can find that.
Is this
So
about the Pure Mere stuff?
yes, Pulemele Mound. I'm assuming I can find it. Did I send it to you directly or was it? Oh, yes, it's right here, right here. I don't want to do the whole 13 minutes, but we'll start with this lady right here. I don't know what she's saying, but we can start with her. Okay. Did you never saw this in person, did you, Masi?
No, no. I've just heard of people talk about it.
Okay.
And I'm assuming this Pure Malay is the one in Savai.
Yeah. There's only one. There's only one big one. The rest of them are like
Yeah.
star mounts and little things. There's only one big one.
Okay, because some people kind of use it interchangeably, the Pure Malay for covering all these the little star mounts and the big one.
Yeah. So this one is Pule Mele Samoa's pyramid. It's just one big one. Let's see, Masi might do some translation here and let me know when you want to stop and just kind of cover what they're saying.
Okay.
O le matua I o mai lava ia I titilo iai ma vai me tonu e tau Pule Mele. Ia whaftai lava mo le valaulia Forsyth.
What did she say there?
So pretty much she's just saying that we've arrived to this Pure Malay site and thanking for the gentleman who's invited her to have this conversation.
Okay.
Ia o tele fo ila profesa mo me ka fo ma to o mai tonu. Longa nei Pule Mele ia tele fo ia ena na mai na o fo mai la to so so ani mo. Ia yes fa mo fa pene ia. Ita ia o le o tau nu fa mo fo le vai no la to. Wala to so so ni me to. O le fa mo. Ma te fa fta ia o to mo na le la vai. Tele la vai mate matenga ia. Me o ye ni o feta to to mai ia wa.
Okay, so now she's taking the group that's pretty much that discovered this Pure Malay. She's going for the group to discover it and trying to understand where we came from. That's pretty much what this older lady is saying.
Hey, Maka, Malo, have a good day at work.
Take care, Maka.
All right.
E alo wa pe malu sel ta tu no ta tu fa na u tanga lo ta tu tiri yo mai ai se ta tu mai ta tu samon ya fo le wo mai ye lang lang ta wona mol mo vina e ta tu no tanga ta na samo la mele la ko pe ko pe tai ta la fe ngai mate matenga ho ta tu lo ye ni after la fo la Forsyth ma tama ai no ia pe fruso son il malo ma le tunu ile mana il ta wa ia tu tele o na malanga mai ni pulu e mai mo fa mo le fifine.
So pretty much she also just mentioned that this discovery, it's good to come because she's also mentioned that our history or oral history, I say we come from Tangaloa, but with this thing maybe it's good that we discovered this so that we can understand our history. Maybe we came from somewhere else, and she's also just thinking because she just said we came from Tangaloa, but with this discovery, it's good that we talk about it, and with this discovery that we can understand. Maybe we came from somewhere else. So yeah, and then she just went ahead and just thanked the gentleman also
Mm.
for discovering this, and this provides an opportunity
To dig into the
to
history.
dig into the
Yeah,
history.
because
She also thanked the government. So yeah.
yeah, because it's the lady after this, the two ladies. There's going to be a lady after her and a younger lady is the one that's kind of the meat that we're going to get into
Mm.
on their ones. But I just went back just a little bit. I was like, oh, the other edits I have seen of this video didn't show this lady, but I thought, oh, we'll just
Okay.
include her. But
Mm.
I'm interested to hear what the next two ladies after her say. Oh, not even this lady. There's another one.
Pay falling ay o se upusa mo wali malawa tatu tilo fa mo so ili ay lato ito tilo mo pay falling sa oil so mo mo pala ulit siya uli na maya ya di isi lang tao ay falling o lesi tilo la tu mo lesi no malali tu mo o base sisi.
So I wanted to pause that just a little bit, but just to kind of look, it's just rocks stacked on each other. There's no like
Yeah.
cement or anything, is it?
Bunch
It
of
looks like just
it's
rocks
just a
stacked.
bunch of rocks.
Yeah, but go ahead, Masi. Just kind of update. What is she? Same thing, saying thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. And she's saying, that this discovery, it's something like very old, discovered in the past, and just say by just looking at it that this is a very old structure kind of thing.
Hmm.
So
Ay falling o lesi tilo la tu mo lesi no malali tu mo
Yeah, look at that.
base
It's
sisi
yeah.
po isaw po na maan
Yeah.
falling o si 5,000 mo to sa wali talto mo to tilo isang katalo o sa tu wali le mo to sa ngase si may tao mo pa tumaro mo may iya ay ili faali ang ngayon sa fam to lang ay talto mo le tilo o nei e winga ile tu lang ale pa pe o le e mawa o nei o le fatto le polizia fatto automatic polizia no winga falling to mi sa po na mai ai o le talto mo fa po le mai ile te kayo to sa fam
so this is one of the
Just
ladies
the
in the
lady.
next one. Yeah. What is the last one? Same thing. Sounds like you're saying importance in Polynesia, maybe blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think the people from Palauli, I guess there was some I'm not too sure if she really meant that there was like a cooking area that was close by that's used to be close to that thing that somebody kind of discovered it kind of thing, but I'm not really sure what she kind of meant by that. They usually say the Mount Sisse, that's usually the place where you do your omu and stuff.
Cooking and stuff. Okay.
But I'm not too sure where she was referring to regarding that. But yeah, just with the whole discovery, like I said, it's new. A lot of them don't really know that what exactly it was for. From those two ladies, what they were kind of talking about.
Yeah, 100%. Comment here by Renegade. Yeah, that's cool. This is the biggest mound, the greatest mound, and we're gonna have some conversations on it because we did talk a little bit on some chats about this mound and where they think the origin is coming from and how it relates to the Polynesian Empire. So we'll keep going on a couple more. We'll listen to a couple more of the comments here, Mas.
Kaya sila na mato may ini mato filter. Ang sabi sana niya kita ngatale na may mato ini pa may nilele sa tato. Ini falo mo na ini waktu nilele ko may falo. Ake ule upona sa falo. Ake ule tato. Ila mbio ala folo na itai folo na no fo. Efamela, ifamtala nga tamalo na may mato. Ole tamalo na na maayali. Ifato nga ni pamay ole. Pamay ono fo. Titong.
What has she said so far?
So she's mentioning the pa tonga, which is like uh could be it's pa can refer to like a gate
Hmm.
for the Tongans, and that's what she said. That's what her understanding of this area was, the pa tonga, the gate area for Tongans, and she even said that she didn't even know where that word Purimele came from. Like, because she was saying like, I've never heard of that word Purimele. From my understanding, that I've always known this kind of spot or area as
See,
the Patonga.
see
And
that. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
no, and then she just kind of finished it off saying that this was the kind of seating areas for the 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 Tonga for the Tongans and Tuitonga area. So
So
she's saying
see
like Nofuanga can be Nofuanga like seating areas or place areas for
the
the
Tongans.
Tongans.
So this is the thing that see. This brings up a very good question. So where does Ulemele come from then? If
No,
the people who live there says we never heard this word, this is
mm,
like the Lapita deal, right?
that's what
Oh,
it sounds
Lapita
like.
pottery, and there's like,
Yeah.
dude, Lapita is a mishearing and understanding of the word to dig, and then we
Mm,
name the Lapita people after that.
mm,
Now we're like, well, what the heck is Pulemele then? If a lady who lives there and she's been told her whole life, this is where the Tongans settled,
yeah,
right? This was their
Patonga. She always
gated area.
yes, she was always known as the Patonga gated Tongan area. So yeah, so that's interesting, eh? That's
Yeah.
interesting because that's funny to I've never saw this video, only when you brought it up. But like, yeah, a lot of people need to watch this video to kind of understand that the Pure Malay could be just a made up Samoan word
Name.
from
Yeah.
some. Yeah.
Well, and really, to me, this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about, where we appreciate a lot of the work that the academics do, but this is when they taint it, when their biases and they're coming in to prove something rather than seeking truth. They come in and they don't listen, because when I hear people speak online in the academics, they make it sound like there's no oral history of what the Pulimele is. And then
Yeah.
lo and behold, the locals right there are telling them, oh, this is, we've been told for generations, this is where the Tongans were. This is where the Tuitonga was,
Mm,
you know?
hmm
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
that's
mean,
exactly what that third lady. So it looks like the other two ladies were more like just trying to they were grateful for this discovery because they don't know too much. But that third lady's definitely she's been told within her family, because I'm assuming they're all three different families.
locals, yeah.
Yes, with it, but still in the local area. But she tends what she's been passed on, that this was she had a specific name calling it the Patonga, where her family's just said this was the Tongan gated area. So
No, and 100% agree, Clymore. And we're going to get into this a little bit more, because your reference of the difference between Boston and Texas, 100%. We got some new information on discussions on this that proves that point. And it's related to the Tuitongas and where they chose to reside. And we'll get to it after we walk through this video, because we 100% agree. We're all the same culture, the same people. We were one nation, basically the Polynesian nation, if you want to call it.
yeah.
Maybe a better word than empire, because it was a nation. But we'll continue with this video. But this is the reason why this video is important, is because those who say it's a closed book, don't talk to us, that the Tuimanua and Samoa was separate and really didn't have a lot of relation or origin with Tonga, that it's not as straightforward as they make it assume
Mm,
or seem to be.
Ai falling nga uma na in. It's like this in a port. Ale pa upunga na fai mai. Na sao ni la mai ai fai mai. Na o matu mai upun. Na mai no te mai e pa ai ia me ta pa tu mai ni. E me le ala o mai ai le o. No te le uma man pla ni o no pa tu ai matu mai ni ai fa me ta la ai ma no na. Atu no te wai pe le ia mana ia te le tangata iasa. Na na o mai a pa pe o mai mata mata. Ma ba ai fo ila ile mawalunga ese a o le nei tia ese ia wale Feo ai foi uma isso aí. Nisi vai rosa, ele é essa tia papel, de mau. Yeah,
What she said so far there.
Yeah, so she's kind of just talking about how this one is very different to the ones in Upolu, and also she's also mentioned that she's been told, like I said, it was a Patonga, like a gated kind of or Tongan area, but she never really knew the meaning of it. She's just always been referred to that thing from her family. Just this is the Patonga area. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what I've kind of gotten. She's kind of
I'm
mentioning.
wondering if that is what this is a similar structure as the Wallace and Futuna one, right? Because the one in Wallace Futuna was a walled area with compounds inside, So I wonder if there's some
Was
similarity
it as
with that.
high? Was it as high as that one? Because
Not as high,
no, not as high.
but it was. I mean, it goes up. I don't know if it was as high, maybe half the height, but still, it was like
Yeah.
a huge compound.
Yeah,
And
of
this one
rocks, all
of
put
rocks,
together.
and it was like a walled compound. Like she's saying, it's like a walled area, right? It's like a
Yeah.
compound. It seems similar to that. But I'm wondering if that has any relation to that. But
No, yeah, there has. No, I was just thinking because there has to be a significance with that area. Why the Tuitonga chose that area? Because, well, unless we haven't found one in Upolu, but there's really nothing in Upolu that has something significant, or maybe a certain event happened in Samoa with the reason why they have such. Because that is pretty high, and like all three ladies, like it is what they look is very very high. This what they found here compared to any other.
that they've seen anywhere else.
Yes, in Upolu and stuff compared to this what this lady was saying.
Interesting.
Peo avela atato titio nei I faingo au wala ole tia. El watu I la ko ini si au wala sa mai ko. Ele ko ele ole afai ose o ni ma sol salonga o tanoi ni si ya tamo ole ose nau ta ina ko ile fia I loa ko le a o se tia oni li ko tia oni tangata o tanwa ko tangata tonga ko tangata sa ya ai fa pe o nei me mamala pe o ta o fiso a pe na sa ona le tuanga ni o tina ko tama so ba tu li fo I so ana to mo moli mai ai I no le to o ele nga fa pe na pi mama
No, so she's kind of talked about she's kind of like a tia. I think she's mentioning like a tia, like a mound,
Like
sia.
a Sia. Yeah.
Yeah. And she kind of talked about the awala, which is the roads that lead to it, and also other roads that kind of lead to the top. Roads that go to the top. And she's just saying that what she thinks that is there is somebody buried there. She doesn't know if it's a Tongan or somebody of a high rank, of a li'i status, or somebody, or just a regular somebody. But she said there is a wanting, and there should be a work towards trying to understand what was this built for, because it's a big part of the history.
Yeah, because I think when we watched that other professor, the professor, I think they said they scanned, they were looking for someone buried up there, but so far they haven't found anyone buried there.
Yeah. So far, he's only found there was some sort of structure that
Yes, the posts
that was on top. So, and it could be what kind of she mentioned earlier. Could have been a seating area for a Tongan or Tuitonga, and maybe it was an area where Tuitonga would just sit and maybe oversee.
reside. Yeah. So yeah, let's I'm scanning. I'm gonna pull something up while we're listening.
Pipam na no apio mane ni me fai me toi pangoi ya langona foi toi te pai tua I tato tua a mai. Ona o ilo ia I mau I Ile tia nei e whaintao na o whaasanga tongi se na te kasi o nga kele ia mga kuma mau whaalele waka sue mo ka whaalongo fo ia ia mau ese alala tunu. Ia I mau mua ngo vai ia I o ngei le mana ngei nga o se Never. Malaya seu rupe. Mo kia seu rupe. Yeah, ale.
So she's mentioning that she's kind of like a Mao or like a Tia, same thing, but she's saying that it could be something for like a snaring.
Seu Lupe.
Io. So she's just sharing that it could be something like that.
Ali ole akamali o ngei whaiku ia maso o mai na ia male malo o liru mai ava I teinia o whaikawa I ngei whaiku. Ia le sila mau pe maule e kokele kangaka o le maule rape o isa sa o selma lo tutonga. Ia teinia o nge a o colonizer va e konga ia ngei le vai nenge palauli. Ia sa whaapolonga ila kanga kai whauri ia le kia lea e whai mo lako lako olo mawhai o whai ngofia o ngā ai e kwaima.
I mean, look at that. It's just stacked rock.
Yeah, no, and she's kind of mentioned. So she mentioned that it could be possibility with this Tia or Mao can be for like pigeon snaring, but she's also mentioning like what the other lady kind of mentioned first that this could have been an area where the Tuitonga came and settled at, and also build like their towers or just a fort areas that the Samoans who built for the Tuitonga, and they were under the Tuitonga's authority, the people in the Palauni area. So yeah.
Mai lo koe vai ngā ai sa mo lo o whai mai ia ngā sa ning whela ia lau konga ma a whaapolonga pe konga ia sa mo ile kaini lea
Look at that. It's a pretty big spot at the top.
Yeah,
So what makes this interesting to me, this couldn't have been, or at least from my perspective, if that's a residence or even if it's a fort or some, you wouldn't, it's so uneven that you wouldn't think that that's the finished product. Right? You would assume that you either have dirt or something to make it even. Because that's really uncomfortable to walk around like that. If it's a residence or something like, I'm just wondering, because I think Danny was mentioning, they're saying that the pae had like some kind of a plaster or some kind of finish on the outside that's deteriorated. And I wonder if there's something similar to this, where there may have been something. Yeah. But any other comments that she made, Masi, that you think would be interesting to mention, or is she just kind of just sharing her other thoughts?
Yeah, she just shared those two, the pigeon snaring that could have been catching there, and also what the other lady kind of mentioned, where Tongans occupied and how Samoans in that area, Palauli, was serving the Tuitonga. So yeah, no, but that's interesting. First time to watch that video, so very, very interesting.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull up a list here because Daniel Fale had mentioned that from his understanding, and I'll share this screen. Let's share window to this one. According to his understanding, where is he?
Fekai.
Yes. Right here.
Yeah, Kaulufonua, Fekai.
Yes. According to Daniel Fale's perspective, that this mount in Samoa was built during the time of Kaulufonua Fekai. And this was to kind of give some context, his father, Takalaua, was assassinated. So it seems to be some kind of turmoil, right? Within the quote unquote country, or the empire. And he goes back, and it seems like he's doing an effort to reestablish power of some sort, because there seems to be some chaos that led to the
Little
assassination.
rebel,
Yes. And in the process of restoring this power, he establishes, I'm going to pull up this, and I'm going to share a different screen real quick, different window. So that's where he's sharing, he thinks
that 5, was it 1, 2, 3, 4 of those Tuitongas, and that could be a reason why the Tuitongas would stay in Samoa, especially a lot during those times from Kaufonua, and even keep going after him. They would stay in Samoa just to kind of, maybe there were certain events that was kind of causing some rebellion behavior, kind of thing,
Well, and this kind of explains to me why the Tuiha Takalaua was installed, because I always wondered what, like, so we have Kaulfo Nua Fekai right here that we're thinking built that langi, we'll just call it a langi, in Samoa, right? The Pulemele Mound, even though it's called, looks like the locals refer to it as the Pa Tonga.
Yes. Yeah.
So Kaulfo Nua is looking to reestablish power, and he installs the Tuiha Takalaua, but then he moves to Samoa, is what it sounds like. So it seems like he created the Tuiha Takalaua to stay in Tonga, to manage. And I'm wondering, this is where he goes on a military campaign to reestablish order. And maybe Samoa is a more centralized location for him. I don't know. But it seems to be at the same time that he establishes the Tuiha Takalaua that he is at this Patonga location. And then according to, man, maybe I should just share a screen, because switching back and forth is getting a little tedious. We'll just share the screen so I can switch back and forth. So we have the list right here. We'll zoom in. According to Daniel Fale, Kaulfo Nua right here, he establishes the Tuiha Takalaua, and then no, that's the wrong list. I might be on the wrong list.
Right there.
Yes,
Right there. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
So for 4 Tuitongas in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, they actually reside in Samoa. And it's Tapu Osi who returns to Tonga.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 4 generations of Tuitonga end up living in Samoa. Any thoughts, anything to add to that, Masi?
I'm just curious, which one was which Tuitonga? I know it was a Talagai Faiki, the one that the name Maria Toa, one of the highest matais in or chiefs in Samoa. Was that earlier, or is this after the fact? I'm just curious about that. Is that 28 Talagai Faiki, the second one?
No, let's see. No, because there's a name change. This one. It's this one.
Okay. So so that's and I'm just bringing that up. So the Tongans weren't really cast out. They were just they still came back to Samoa even after that event.
Yeah.
Right? To survive. So I just thought that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So it looks like this is where the kind of the rebellion, because if I remember correctly, the reason why I'm saying it's this guy, because there was a name change that
Okay.
Fale says, and then the San Talafapite is when they switched, like certain structures of the
Yeah.
culture, like
Yeah.
the pigs turned on their back,
Yeah.
like
Right.
that came from that.
Mm. Mm. But yeah,
So
no,
that, yeah,
that was my thoughts on that. But yeah, it had to be something because and it makes sense why he would create a new title after his father, and then he would stay in Samoa while the Tui Hatakalawa was in Tonga, kind of managing the daily business while he was. It could have been maybe a military kind of crusade, and he would have just launched from Samoa, or yeah, I don't know. It could be something.
yeah.
It could have been something pretty significant if he was residing there, and also that structure of what the two local Samoan ladies kind of mentioned that this is relevant. This is has strong ties to Tonga.
I mean, this may be kind of reading too much in between the lines, but look at the name,
Mm. 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 Ha'avakafu.
Ha'avakafuhu.
Mm.
But it's the third. So I don't know if that's just named after, but and I wonder if that has anything to do with the function that his
Yeah.
father was doing, right?
Mm.
Where there was a
Yeah.
group going around restoring order, more in a military campaign rather
Yeah.
than just the familial and the religious, which that was the primary, it seems to be the primary source of
Yeah.
authority and leadership was not military through all these. It was more like religious and familial management and inheritance.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's some interesting. We have a comment here from Clymore. I'll send you a link to an origin story to an island called Puka Puka. Their founding deity was Tongan. Seems as if our forefathers established lands as safe havens in case of misdirection from storm. I totally 100% agree with that, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to always have direct flights. You have to have layovers somewhere with bad weather or even just to
Yeah.
get new resources. So I can definitely see how that's really a real possibility there. But thought that was interesting.
It is. Yeah.
Um, really
Thanks for
just
that
one,
video.
yeah.
First time to see that video. So yeah, thank you for that. I've never seen that.
And I think that's really what I think this video just goes to show is the idea that there's no oral history of coming from the Tuitonga or the Tuitonga having influence even after you know
Hmm.
um
After the
Talakai
whole
Faiki
rebellion.
being
Yes.
removed, and
Yes.
that there's a lot more to that. It's these people who are academia and even others who are just assuming, oh no, it's a closed book. This is what it
Yeah.
is. It's like, no, it doesn't seem to be quite the case because there is oral history in Samoa of saying we come from Tonga.
Yeah. Yeah. And that Purimere or that Tia, some of the locals refer to Tia or the Patonga, like the locals have referred it to that, there was significant Tongan influence, and that was the reason why that thing is there from the last two ladies they interviewed. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's very interesting. So like I said, we're like I think Claymore brought it right. It's almost like Texas and like California or like Boston and stuff.
exactly.
We're all the same. It's within the same vicinity, same kind of culture, but just little nuances that are just different here and there. You know.
Yeah. I mean, just like what the capital of the US used to be in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
right? Then they
Before it
got
moved to
relocated
DC.
to DC because that made more sense. And just to prove the point, just the same thing. The Tuitonga obviously spent hundreds of years, possibly thousands of years in Tongatapu. Then for 5 generations after an
Same stuff.
assassination, right?
Yeah.
After an assassination, a restructuring of the government, a new administrative kingly line, Tuihatakalaauka is created, stays on Tongatapu. The Tuitonga goes out, stays in Samoa for five
Yeah.
generations, and then returns to Tonga.
Yeah.
Relocating of the capital, one could say, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very
That's
interesting.
true. That's true. I've never thought of that way, Dua. That's pretty cool that you said like for those 5 generations, apparently the Tuitonga thought we need to relocate for some business. 5 generations, let's just say 25 years each or maybe more. That's a long time. And then say, okay, our work here is done. Let's go back to
Yeah. Well, and it kind of makes sense with we have that property that's called Vakatalata. I always never really
Yes.
understood that, where he said, "Oh, this new information of my father Tapuosi dying
Yeah.
in Tonga." It makes sense to me now why he's saying Vakatalata, like Taag Lata in
Yeah.
Samoa. I'm no longer happy to stay in Samoa,
Mm.
because he probably grew up his entire life and only visited Tonga for maybe
Yeah.
the Inasi or
Twice a
certain
year.
events and then
Yeah.
come back. And
Yeah.
now he's saying, yeah, my family's been here for 5 generations, but I can't stay here anymore. I have to go back to Tonga, Lomoeki, right? And
Yeah.
saying, I could stay in Samoa. I've been here. My father was born and raised here. My grandfather, my great grandfather, my great great grandfather.
Mm.
Now, to me, it makes a little more sense with the oral history of why he named the property. It's because he basically relocated back to Tonga, but he had been in Samoa for 5 generations.
Mm. Mm.
So, yeah, I think that establishes a little bit more. But
Yeah.
any closing thoughts, Masi? I think we're gonna close out, but
Yep.
any closing thoughts?
No, I appreciate our topics today and our viewers, and just always you guys are always great to interact with. Um, we covered a good variety of topics: sports, Kava, and also history. I did it's really really important, this last segment that we talked about, understanding that, hey, that makes sense why some Samoa is a really close relative of ours, because the Tuitonga probably moved the capital for 5 generations that we know of, from the history that we know within our family history, being in Samoa and only coming to Tonga for Inasi and Polo Polo. But it looks like everything else, and it could have been like, instead of being like a prestigious authority that he was governing, like how he did in the past years that hold so many pieces, it seems like it was with intent to kind of by force to establish their authority, while the Tui Hatagalawa was kind of managing the daily business. But I thought that was pretty cool, and yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
and if you just think on the geography, Samoa is much more centralized because Tonga is on the southern tip. Besides
Mm,
New
mm,
Zealand, Tonga is
mm.
the furthest south. Samoa is a little bit more centralized to Eastern Polynesia, Western Polynesia. It's a much more centralized location.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, sorry, Mashi, I just need to add that in
No,
there.
you're
But
good. You're good. Well, but yeah, how about you, Tua? Any
no,
closing
closing
comments?
thoughts. Yeah, I mean, really exciting time to be alive, right? A lot of exciting things going on with sports, even with our people, as we talked about on the last live. A lot of exciting moves. There was one we didn't get to it today, but Via Fifita just extended his contract, renewed with it with the Scarlets in
Oh, I had no
Wales.
idea.
Yeah, so he just renewed. He had it published on his social media with the Olympics. NFL is going to be starting soon. Exciting to see a lot of our Polynesian people in the sports arena there. Really cool to see parts of our culture starting kind of getting into mainstream. We're just
Mhm.
not just with WWE and with sports and with The Rock and with the movies, Jason Momoa, but also some things that are more on the grassroots level, like the Kava, right?
Mm.
And seeing how Kava can still play an important role in our daily lives, like that Samoan brother,
Yeah,
where he
the
just said, "Hey,
Kalapu.
man, I just needed to go hang out, get some brothers to hang out with, relax, enjoy
Mm.
some time, because we all need to decompress. Um,
Yeah.
Even though we love our kids, we know we have to work, but it's good to get out there. And there's different flavors of the kalapus to go to. You don't have to go to one. So I think it's good for the viewers to be aware of that, can
Yeah.
share that with your friends. And not just the Polynesians, the Palangis too. They're struggling, like we said,
Mm.
male male suicide rates and depression
It's
is
high.
skyrocketing. Inviting those brothers and sisters to join us could be very helpful for them. And then, last but not least, we are one people. We are from the same origin, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that we just accept any story of the past. One of the things of building a strong foundation of who we are as a people is understanding the correct history.
Correct.
And we can't just let some false history take root, because if that's how we build our culture and everything on something that's not true, then the foundation is not solid enough and it won't yield the outcome that we want. And that's the reason why some people may say we're taking a overly aggressive position. If telling the truth will be considered overly aggressive, so be it, but we're trying to get to the bottom of the truth and where we come from as a people.
Yes, sir.
But that's it. Appreciate everyone's time.
Yep.
Once again, stay bold, ask the right questions,
Stay curious.
and stay curious. Till next time. Catch you later, everyone. Mahalo.